So yeah, that's it. Stress solutions. Maybe we'll talk about different areas and different things that we can do to help manage stress.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start off like one that I had that's just an easy one right off the bat is just diet. Healthier foods do lower stress. You know, I already mentioned that the bad foods cause have a negative impact on the body. So healthy foods, anti-inflammatory, and they supply a lot of vital nutrients that help us repair, grow, and deal with stress better.
Mm-hmm.
That's a simple one. Do you guys have another stress solution? Or I don't know if you want to say anything else about diet, but.
Well, do you want to go, Josh?
No, go ahead, Ricky.
Okay. For me, I never thought I was a fairly stressed individual, but I started taking, and once I got my diet in check and I'm out of school and I have a job, obviously a lot, and I love my job and I love going to there and I love working there. So a lot of my stress was lowered, but I still found, I heard about like a supplement called Ashwagandha, and I started taking that, and I don't even take what's recommended on the bottle. I take like half the dose, but I noticed a huge change as I take just like one pill a day, and I feel very calm and relaxed. I don't really get road rage as much as I used to. I don't like things just don't bother me. They kind of just roll off of me.
Nice.
And so I'm a huge advocate of that, even though I don't really care for supplements very often, and I don't really take too many supplements. But that one, for some reason, I definitely noticed a huge change once I started taking it.
Cool. Yeah, I'll hit on supplements at the very end just to like give viewers some, a few ideas of things that they might want to try. But ashwagandha is at the top of my list.
Mm-hmm.
I use that myself.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested, Andy, to hear you talk more about that because I know nothing about that supplement. At the end, we'll dive into that. But you had mentioned, food, and you said, that's a simple one. I think that people need to take that super serious. It is simple to say eat healthy, but from a stress standpoint, if your body is physically stressed, jacked up, inflamed, digestion's messed up, all those byproducts that go with poor eating, you can meditate all you want. It's not going to make a huge difference if your food consumption is poison.
I think what I meant was the healthy eating is simple in theory, but very challenging in practice for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it is very difficult, actually. We all know we've coached people on trying to improve their diets and stuff, and that is a big struggle for people. And especially if you are in a mindset of high stress, that's when you're going to gravitate towards the cheap foods and the junk foods that make you feel better for a few minutes as kind of like it's almost like a self-medicating sort of thing, So that being in a lot of stress and trying to change your diet to a healthier one is even more challenging than simply trying to do it when you're feeling low stressed.
Yeah. And I would say for the viewers listening, like, as we dive down into more solutions, like, don't just overlook this, like the food piece.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to get into supplements maybe, or other kinds of tips and tricks, in the next few minutes, but don't just bypass this. Waiting for something maybe you haven't heard before, but yet you're ignoring the food. Start there.
Yeah, because I think that's my second highest expense is food.
Yeah.
So out of anything, it goes mortgage, food.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and you got to invest in your health. The next one might be exercise, which is really well known through a lot of studies as a potent stress reducer. Whether it's the endorphins that are released in some exercise, or just movement in general, and getting your blood flowing makes you feel better about yourself. Whatever it is, most people feel better and energized after a good workout. And then some exercise is actually supposed to be relaxing by its nature. Mobility work or deload sessions if you're overstressed, or even activities like just shooting baskets in your driveway, with a friend, or playing whatever sport, or going for a hike, or whatever your hobby happens to be. but movement and exercise is a potent stress reducer. And I think there's been studies showing that, you know, exercise is more efficacious as a antidepressant than most antidepressant medications are. So that's another big one that's, again, easy to overlook, but incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm going with that. Sorry, yeah. Going with that, I'd say even being out in nature is another big one.
Yep.
So yeah, if we're not going with supplements or anything like that, going just with the simple stuff that you can do any day and it's free, just get outside.
Yep.
Yeah. Connecting with nature is huge. And a big benefit to that too, is it often goes along with one of my other ones, which is unplugging. You know, we talked about watching news and being on social media and stuff, but I think being away from your phone and away from computers and stuff for a while, and going out in nature gives you an opportunity to do that. So not only do you get like the benefits of fresh air and sunlight, which is kind of more calming and relaxing to your body when you've been inside and in the rat race all day, you also get to unplug and get away from that negative stimuli of social media and, you know, news consumption and so on.
Yeah, Andy, do you remember?
We did the Unplugged challenge. We did the Unplugged challenge a couple years ago, and people absolutely loved it, right, Josh?
Yeah, I was just going to bring it up. If you remembered that, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. You know, what's really interesting with that, a few things, like when we issued that challenge, and that challenge, by the way, this was issued, what, probably 7-8 years ago, at least. We issued it to our community to go 24 hours unplugged. With like no connection to, you know, social media, the internet, TV, radio, nothing. And we had, you know, a group of people do it, and all the feedback was amazing. But hearing the excuses for why people didn't want to do it was mind-blowing to me. Like literally people were saying that they would go crazy, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves, they were nervous about it. It was unbelievable how addicted and connected we are to that technology. Truly, when we just say go one day without checking your phone and this and that and that, the vast majority opted out. I think we had like 10 or 12 people do it at our, you know, gym at the time. But I think that is a great challenge for people to do. And if they do it in nature, it would be even better. You know, circling back quick to the exercise piece, I want to look at that a little bit more detailed, but not too much. So if you're stressed already and your cortisol's high, I would avoid like low state aerobic or high level aerobic activity that's going to increase cortisol. So if you're very stressed and you're running 35 miles a week, you're contributing to your stress. And the other piece is, you know, high intensity based training, such as like a CrossFit, where you're maxing at 100% for 20, 30 minutes at a time. Your cortisol is skyrocketing during that. What people in the category that are super stressed that want to use exercise as therapeutic, like Andy mentioned, mobility, you know, strength training would probably be the number one, if not mobility, yoga. You can do great workouts, phenomenal workouts, without having a heart rate of 180 for a long period of time. So that's where we go back to like, is it good or bad? And if your stress is already high, you don't want to wreck yourself in these workouts, because that will be considered a negative stress.
Right. Another one I've got is social time. And by that, I mean connecting with real people in the real world, face-to-face communication. Me and Ricky talked about this a lot on the last episode. And especially if you are stressed, having a close friend that you can actually just talk to about what you're stressed about, you know, get their perspective, get them to say, just to empathize with you a little bit. I mean, that can be instantly stress relieving, you know, cut your stress in half or make it diminish completely. They can help you come up with solutions. But even if you're not talking about your stress, just hanging out with people, having some good belly laughs, you know, having some food with people, that's really something that's missing these days, especially with pandemic and people can't visit each other and stuff for the last year, you know. But I would say connection is a huge one for stress relief. You know. Let's see. Vacations, I just mentioned this because I've got a vacation coming up. Josh just came back from one, but it makes me sad that people don't go on vacation very much. We kind of, in America, you hear a lot of people saying that they've got, 1 or 2 weeks vacation time or whatever, but they just roll it over or they cash out at the end of the year. And I think vacation time I think it'd be a lot wiser to actually take a chunk of time, a week in the summer and then a week in the winter or whatever, and actually go somewhere, get out of your typical surroundings, get a new perspective. I think that's incredible for reducing stress.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets you out of, if the rat race is what's causing you stress, it gets you out of it for a little while and helps you recharge and re-energize.
Mm-hmm. And maybe even rethink your situation and think about ways you could make it a little more positive.
Yeah, totally. There's an old saying that I like, not old, but like one that I've heard a few times, where they say Europeans work to live while Americans live to work. And that's just going to the fact that the typical, I'm not sure exactly what countries, but there's several European countries where they take like upwards of 4 or 5 weeks of vacation time every year, where the typical American might take a random day here or there, and it's just not very frequent. And at the end of your life, you look back and it's like, geez, why did I spend all that time slaving away? Why didn't I have a little bit of time for myself mixed in,
Mm-hmm.
I think the vacation thing is a great point. I think it's a great stress reducer. And it doesn't need to be elaborate.
No, not at all.
Camping, if you enjoy camping in the Adirondacks, it's not a financial thing, because I hear a lot of people say like, oh, I can't do it because it's so expensive. And it is expensive if you really, go to, Jackson Hole and get these, mammoth rentals and, you're going to spend a lot, but it doesn't have to be that way. And, I would encourage people to definitely vacation as much as possible, right? In terms of like still having your job and being responsible and whatnot, but also identifying what a good vacation looks like. So what I mean by that is like, you may have a family that has young children or really young children, and they go to Disney World, and the parents come back way more stressed than when they left. They gained 8 pounds and they spent a crap ton of money
so now financial stress.
Yeah, financial stress now. And I see it all the time. And so if they were to be honest with themselves and have a good, conversation back and forth as a couple, they would realize that the kids could be happy doing 50 other things that maybe would align better with helping the parents reduce stress. Because like for me, and I was talking with Bob, one of our trainers here 2 days ago about this, like my idea personally of like a good vacation is something where we're working out, we're interacting with nature, a lot of the unknown with like adventure, new hikes, new scenery, low stimulation, healthy food, lots of sleep. It's very regenerative based but physical at the same time. Other people view vacation as very different than that. But I think it's important to know, like, some people want to go to a beach for 10 days or a week, or a cruise, and just eat unlimited food, get drunk every night, don't exercise, and play on their phone, their iPhone. And to them, that works. But to me, that's horrible. That does nothing for me to regenerate. And so I think being clear on what a good vacation or getaway looks like could be very beneficial to people. Truly recharging to when they come back, they feel like Ricky said, where they have maybe more insight, or they're more creative, they're more replenished. Like that's the point of vacation in my viewpoint.
Yeah, agree. A big one here, Josh kind of touched on it earlier, but I definitely want to make sure we hammer home the point, is reframing when it comes to stress. Josh, you mentioned that whether stress is good or bad is largely a matter of our perception of it. Two people can be in the same situation, and one perceives it as a good situation, one perceives it as bad. They're both experiencing the same thing, but one is affected negatively by it because of how they perceive it, and one is affected more positively. You know, it's tough to do, but if we can try to find the positive in any situation, then it may become a good stress. You know, if we can see where where it's teaching us something, or where we're learning something, or whether it's going to help us in the long run, then maybe it even becomes something that we're grateful for. I think about the fact that, like, when you look back at your life, a lot of times what you would call, so some of the situations you went through that seemed like the worst situations in your life at the time, when you look back, end up being the ones that you are the most grateful for, or that you appreciate the most, or that you're like, that's where I really changed and became a better person. It taught me something good. You know, I think there's definitely, and I'm not a master of this at all, but I think there's definitely something to looking at your situation that's stressing you out and trying to find the silver lining or a positive in it, or something good to take from it, seeing how it could actually be beneficial for you.
Yeah, I don't know if this relates 100%, but in my line of work, we get a lot of customer requests where we have to try to figure out a way to make our product fit into a customer situation. And whenever we get those things in, I tend to see them as a positive, and I try to look for all the positive aspects of how we can implement our material into there. And then other people focus on all the negative. So in a sense, like, I focus on solutions. Like, I try to figure out different solutions, while other people are like, well, this is the problem with that. This is the problem with that. This is the problem with that. Where I'm like, well, why don't we stop focusing on the problems? Why don't we start trying to focus on these solutions and try to make these solutions work for the customer, you know, versus just negating them without even trying.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's just one kind of real life aspect that I run into a lot with people I have to work with.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going with that. And I think it's really hard to do. It's, you know, it's a little bit of mental retraining. Reframing is, I think if listeners wanted to learn more about it, you can probably go on YouTube and learn about mindset reframing or something like that. There's a lot of experts in psychology that talk about this way beyond what we can. But I just know that that's a powerful tool that a lot of people do utilize to mitigate the stress in their lives and even flip negatives into positives. The last one, I guess I'll just say meditation. I don't know if you guys do or have any experience with meditation. I know it's becoming a big thing in the last 15 years. It's become kind of trendy. I don't know how effective it is for most people, or, you know, there's so many different practices and stuff, but it's touted as being, you know, a potent stress reducer. And I think it kind of depends on what practice you use and how you engage with it. But me personally, I really like listening to meditations by Eckhart Tolle. I'll listen to those sometimes before bed or at night when I'm trying to calm my mind. You know, he just kind of teaches how to live more in the present moment, how to disengage from your thoughts, how to become more aware of your thoughts and realize that you are not your thoughts, you know, get a little separation there. And that's huge for someone who tends to ruminate on just this vicious cycle of negative thoughts that's just always going through their mind. If you can kind of step outside that and disidentify from those thoughts, that can be the start of a practice where you can kind of not be as affected by them and maybe stop getting trapped in those negative spirals of negative thinking. So I don't know if you guys do anything along those lines. There's a lot of apps out there now too. I know Headspace is a popular one. There's one called Waking Up, Calm. Yep, exactly. So I haven't used any of the meditation apps, but I do know that they're getting pretty popular these days, and a lot of them are free.
Yeah,
so.
something that I do somewhat similar to that is I like sitting in silence. Like, I don't know if that's what you consider meditation, but I don't have a agenda, right? But that for me helps to really calm the mind and just be aware of what is the incoming stream. And then I'll ask myself, and I have this as actually one of my bullet points, be honest with yourself on why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And so the thought comes in, whether it's good, bad, or whatever it may be, or concern, why is it why is it categorized there? And then a lot of times I try to get solution based, that, you know, so, but sitting in silence allows me to sort of dive into the voice, like the voice that's coming in. And then I ask myself, like, what is it? Like, why are you agitated? Or why, you know, why are you so, you know, tired, or whatever it may be? I'm not sure. But asking yourself almost as a second person, like, what's going on? And a lot of times you get really clear positive outlooks after sitting for 20, 30, 40 minutes, you know? And I think
once you eliminate the distractions and stuff that prevent you from taking that time to get clear, then you can come to a lot, like you said, some insights and some realizations that are very beneficial. I really like, I love Mark Manson's take on meditation. He wrote about it in his book, Everything is Effed, the book about hope, which is one of my favorite books. But he mentions that, like, you know, meditation has become kind of Americanized in the recent years, where, you know, typical Western meditation is focused a lot more on relaxation. Like, we're just going to sit here, listen to some tranquil music, you know, sounds of nature, like whatever. And just kind of, maybe someone is talking you through, like, relax this muscle, pay attention to this muscle, whatever. And it's just kind of soothing and relaxing. Versus traditional meditation, the way it began in Eastern cultures, it's far more intense, and it's not about relaxation at all. It's actually about the opposite. It's actually about choosing to engage in discomfort. So, you know, a lot of people, if you ask people, do you meditate? Because it is becoming a big thing. A lot of people say that they want to meditate, but then when you ask them, do they meditate? They say that they don't. And the reason that they don't is because it's really funny. You'll hear people say all the time that, like, yeah, I've been meaning to, I really want to start meditating, but, you know, every time I try to do it, I don't like it, and I stop immediately, you know, or I can't find time for it or whatever. And it's really funny because on the outside, meditation looks like the easiest thing in the world. It's literally just sitting in silence and just kind of like paying attention to your thoughts. Like, what could be easier? You just need like a cushion to sit on, right? And yet people just cannot bring themselves to do it. And the reason that they can't bring themselves to do it is because it's unbelievably uncomfortable. If you've ever tried to do it, especially if you try to do it for more than like a couple minutes, if you try to do it for like 20 minutes or half an hour, just sitting in silence and paying attention to your thoughts, you're confronting, most people just experience boredom and anxiety from sitting there. And then there's also like the physical discomfort of, you know, you're supposed to sit still in a certain posture and just notice the sensations of the body. But after a while, like your leg is starting to get numb and you're starting to feel like antsy, you want to move, you know? So traditional meditation in the Eastern cultures is recognizing that that is actually really uncomfortable. Like, there is going to be boredom. You are going to experience all sorts of weird mind things. You are going to experience physical discomfort. And the traditional meditation is about choosing to sit with that and experience it. So actually meditation is kind of a stress, but a good stress, like exercise. It's a stress for the brain, which in the long run makes you anti-fragile. Meditation is really like a training in mental anti-fragility. When you choose to engage in that discomfort of meditation, when you choose to just sit in silence for, you know, half an hour or an hour, it makes you mentally stronger and more able to handle other stresses that life throws at you. So, like, you know, the phenomenal example in that book that I mentioned by Mark Manson is, you know, the famous example of the monk Thich Kwan Duc. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he's the, if you've ever seen the Rage Against the Machine cover with the guy who's on fire, it's one of the most famous photographs in history. But Thich Kwan Duc was a monk in southern Vietnam, who in Saigon back in the mid 1960s, who was protesting, and he went into deep meditation and lit himself on fire and burned to death, essentially, right there in the middle of the street with a whole bunch of onlookers. And there's a really famous photograph of this. Anyone can look up online. You'll recognize it instantly. But the whole point there is he had been meditating deeply for 40 years to the point where his mind became so strong with with being able to withstand discomfort that nothing could bother this guy anymore, you know, even to the point where like the worst thing imaginable. I mean, I can't imagine a worse day than burning alive. Even that, he just sat there peacefully in deep meditation as he just burned and passed away. You know, if you can develop that kind of mental resilience, then a traffic jam is not going to bother you. You know, a bad day at work is not going to bother you. You know, some, you know, bad story on the news is not going to bother you. So that's the true, there's a lot of benefits to meditation, but that's one of the true benefits to real meditation, and how it can actually help develop a mind that is stress resistant. It's a pretty interesting thing. I'm certainly no expert, but I love that take on meditation. I thought that was a really beautiful passage in his book, and I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed, Andy, reading that also. And that was an eye-opener for me in terms of what a true art, true meditation is. I had a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, totally. And then the last thing to throw in is the obvious one, you know, counseling or seeing a mental health professional. I mean, it's great if you can do all this stuff on your own with all the tips that we've given, but if stress is really controlling your life, then there's professionals out there who can help you get over it a lot quicker than if you try to fix it yourself over the course of many years. They might be able to give you that, you know, that jump start and help you get through it a lot sooner than you can on your own. It's obviously worth mentioning. As far as solutions, do you guys have anything else, or should I just wrap up with a few of the supplements people can look into?
The only other thing that I had, and Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot, but like making sure that you have a clear aim in life. Some people call it purpose. And I'll attach hope to that, like Mark Manson talks about. Like they all sort of compile into the same central theme, but like truly having a clear aim in life with goals attached to that aim. Like that is, to me, so important that if you're just mindlessly going through the motions every day, you know, almost like a Groundhog Day, and you're, you know, depressed or anxious or lonely, or, you know, there's nothing that you're setting your sights on larger than where you currently are. And so you sort of spin. And it's something that I have to constantly check in with, you know, what is the aim and what are the goals attached to the aim? And the aim should inspire you. And I think that, you know, it's something that I would like to see, you know.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's one thing I meant to put in my notes and I forgot to. But yeah, purpose and meaning in life is absolutely huge. And one of the books that absolutely changed my life was, it's called Authentic Happiness by Martin Seligman. Martin Seligman is a psychologist or psychiatrist, I'm not sure, but he's the father of what's called positive psychology, because typically psychology focuses on the negative. It always did. It focused on like mental psychopathies, whether it was like schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, anxiety, whatever. It focused on like people who had a pathology in their mental state, and it focused on how to fix that and get them back up to normal, right? So, you know, normal is here, and, you know, you got someone who's got something wrong, maybe, you know, bipolar or whatever, and typical psychiatry and psychology tried to get those people fixed, so to speak, so that they were no longer in that negative state. Martin Seligman developed a whole new field called positive psychology, where he said, well, why are we stopping here? Why don't we try to figure out what makes people happy and get them to an optimum mental state? You know, not just like correct a negative state and bring you up to normal, but then help people who are at normal get up to optimum. And his book, Authentic Happiness, talks all about how to achieve happiness and how to, like, the keys to getting into a positive mental state. And what you just talked about, Josh, was one of the biggest things was, what did you say? Purpose and meaning in life. He talks a lot about that. And it's beautifully written. So if anyone is dealing with like trying to get out of depression or anxiety, or just trying to figure out how to bring more happiness into their life, I highly recommend that book. It's really easy to read and it's very insightful.
Yeah, and one of the things attached to that aim or that purpose, a lot of these individuals promote and say is that it should last longer than your lifetime. Like that pursuit should last longer. The pursuit of mastery within that should last longer. So like an example, let's just say would be to like, you know, cure or fix obesity, right? So like knowing that 80% of the population is, you know, there or close to it. Most likely in the next, for let's say me, 40, 50 years, is that going to be achieved? And most likely not. And so that it would be an aim, and then you would center your goals around working on that. You see it a lot in like regenerative farming, where they're implementing practices that are 100-year plans. So they're starting plans that then their kids or next layer will then implement, that then that third layer will actually realize. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow. It is for me a little bit, like knowing that, you know, you may not benefit entirely.
See the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that's
but the point is that you know what your labor is going towards, and it's something that's a higher purpose, and that, I don't know, that does something for you mentally for sure.
Yeah. So even though you may not be the one that achieves your goal or your aim that you're targeting for, but you inspire others to continue on that dream. And then you know that, and you just hope and you watch, or even if you pass away, hopefully you're watching from above, but you can see, you know, those changes happening in the world.
Yeah.
You're focusing on something bigger than yourself. That's a huge piece.
Yeah, Andy, that's extremely well put. Yeah, for sure. And I think like, yeah, something bigger than yourself. Yeah, I think I could just finish that off there. That's good.
Cool. All right, I'll just hit, if people did want to try some supplements, and I'm just going to touch on this briefly because what we already talked about is the most important stuff. It's all the lifestyle things. And I think we did a really good job here of giving people a lot of tips that they can start implementing right away. Supplements are just that, just like with diet. It's just something to kind of maybe help and give you an added like boost in the right direction, but they're not going to on their own correct any of the problems that you might be facing. You got to do like the real work to make the lifestyle changes. But for people who are experiencing a lot of stress, some supplements do help a lot. Ricky already mentioned ashwagandha, which if people are watching, I've got a bottle of ashwagandha right here. Clinically, shown in studies to lower cortisol, and it actually does so very reliably and significantly as well. So it kind of blunts that whole fight or flight physiology that you experience when you're under stress that can cause a lot of downstream problems. Also for men, it's shown to be a mild testosterone booster, at least in the short term. The effects may wear off if you use it for a long time. Typically with ashwagandha, they tell you to try to take it for maybe 4 to 8 weeks and then take like a month off, and then you can take it again, just so that your body doesn't totally get used to it. And then when you take that time off, then go back to it, you start getting the positive effects again. So I'll just throw that in there. But ashwagandha is, it's an adaptogenic herb. It's one of the really big, so an adaptogen is any compound that helps your body adapt with and deal with stress. So it's an herb that falls into that category. It's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for a long time. It's one of their biggest ones. Another adaptogenic herb, rhodiola, shown to reduce stress-related fatigue. A lot of people who have fatigue a lot of people who are stressed are always tired because stress wears on you. It's a weight you're carrying on your shoulders. Rhodiola is an herb that kind of helps mitigate some of that fatigue a little bit. Magnesium is a huge one. critical mineral that many people are deficient in, and studies have shown that it does lower stress symptoms in a lot of people, especially if you are deficient and you get back up to normal. It relaxes tense muscles, and people who are stressed carry a lot of, tension usually in their neck and traps. So it can help out there. Magnesium is it's one of my top 3 supplements for sure. A vitamin B complex. So you can either just buy a B complex, which has all of your B vitamins in it, or just get a multivitamin, which is typically going to have a B complex mixed in. Deficiencies in B vitamins are associated with stress type symptoms and fatigue, especially when it comes to stress, vitamin B5 and vitamin B6. So that's pantothenic acid and peroxidine. But if you get a B complex, you get all of them, including B5 and B6. I've got my magnesium right here. I've got the next one on the list is an amino acid, L-theanine. L-theanine is an amino acid that's in green tea. So you sometimes hear about green tea being stress relieving, and that's the reason for that. Some studies have shown that it helps improve sleep. So I take mine actually, sometimes I'll take it in the morning if I think I'm gonna have a stressful morning, but I take it before bed too. Helps improve sleep, reduces stress, anxiety, and depressive type symptoms in some people. And then the last one, I guess this kind of goes along with the rhodiola, is there's a mushroom called cordyceps, which is another adaptogen. I used to use cordyceps a lot back when I was running a lot, training for like marathons and stuff, to help reduce that stress overload on my body, because that long distance running does wear on your body and raise cortisol levels. And that's another one that helps improve energy when you're in a stressed out state. I haven't taken it in a while, but it is efficacious, and a lot of people do report that it helps them a lot. So those would kind of be, I guess, maybe my top 6 for stress relief. I don't know, I might be missing a couple, but those are usually the go-tos that people see benefit from when it comes to stress. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Did we cover this or what?
I think so.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. Hopefully the viewers can, take some value away from that. It was an enjoyable conversation. I like that. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed what you listened to just now, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would be great. Subscribers are going up every week. And so please do that. If you're interested in becoming a client of our growing community, whether it's in person or an online client through our Achieve coaching program, send us an email to info@co-movement.com or visit our website, co-movement.com. And also send us questions. Like Ricky said, someone asked us to do an episode on stress. So here we are, 90 minutes of stress. Questions, thoughts, anything you want us to add in, we're here to do this for you. So send it over to us and we'll definitely make it happen. So if that's that, we will sign off and join on next week. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'll see you guys.
See ya.